So let's look at some unique list features, and I'm going to add another program to my demo, and we're going to call this one item assignments demo.py. And I'm going to start off here in the Python interpreter. And let's say that we have a list. So we're going to create a list. I'm going to call it numbers is equal to 12, 4, 76, 23. So we've got this list of numbers. And so what item assignments mean is that, let's say I wanted to change that 54 to 55. I could say numbers. If I looked at numbers index 1, that's that 54. I can also do this, say numbers, I want to change that to 55. And then if I list numbers, we can see that that 54 was in fact changed to 55. So that's called item assignment. And that's something unique to lists. So let's see what would happen if we had numbers tuple. So I'm going to make another variable. And this one's going to be very similar. We're going to have the same values here. But we're going to make it a tuple. And I'm going to try to do the same thing. I'm going to say numbers and look at index 1. That's that. Oh, numbers tuple. I'm sorry. Let's look at our tuple variable and look at what's at index 1. And we can see that it's this 54 right here. Now, what happens if I try to say numbers tuple at 1 is equal to something? We get an error. Tuple object does not support item assignment. And that's what we mean when we say that lists are mutable. In other words, we can change the elements inside of a list, but a tuple is not mutable. We can't change the individual elements in a tuple. So when we try to make this assignment right here, it didn't work. Similarly, if I say text is equal to A, B, C, D, E, F, and I was to look at, say, text at index 3, that's the D. Let's say I want to change that. I want to say text at index 3 and set it equal to maybe T. Well, again, we get the same kind of error. It says string object does not support item assignment. So we can't really change a tuple, an element of a tuple, or an element of a string. Now, what we can do is we could say text is equal to A, B, C, T, E, F. And that would actually change that. That would look like it changed it, but we're actually not changing the original string here. What we're doing is we're creating a new string and assigning it to the same variable. Same thing with our tuple. We could say, if we look at numbers tuple, we can say it's that. We could say numbers tuple is equal to, and I could say 12, 55, 76, 23, but I'm not really making I'm not really changing this original tuple. I'm making a brand new tuple and assigning it to the same variable. So using that, let's see if we can make a program. So I'm going to, maybe what we'll do is we'll create an empty list. We'll create a list, show the list, ask the user for which which element to change. And then what we can do is then change the list. Well, actually, first ask the user what to replace it with, and then show the modified list. So I'm going to create a list, and let's see. Maybe we'll call it numbers is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll show the list. So just to do that, we'll just say current list, comma, numbers, and let's just see what that does. Let's see. Oh, let's break out of. Okay, let's try this again. Control F5. There we go. So now we have this current list being displayed. Okay, so we have our print, we have our list, so let's look at the next thing. Ask user for what element to change. And of course, to do that, we're going to do an input, and we're going to need that to be an integer because we need to know which index. And so we will say index to change is going to be equal to the int of input. Please enter index of item to change. I'm going to run that and just make sure that that's working okay. So if they wanted to change to 3, we put in 3 because it just happens that they are the same. Let's make these numbers different just to make it. So we'll say 12, 21, 34, 31, and 55. Run it again. That way we can just see that, okay, we're really putting an index. So let's say I want to get the second one. You know, I wanted 21. So remember, as the user is probably going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to have to adjust that. So just to test that, you know, really, we're going to have to subtract 1. So I'm going to do that right here. I'm going to say we're going to get what the user wants, and we're going to immediately subtract 1. And I'm just going to temporarily say here, index is so that way, if they say, you know, they want the third element, the index is actually 2. So 0, 1, 2, that will be the 34. So now that I know that's good, I can then modify this and say numbers, and then use my square braces to say, okay, take that index, and let's see if I can get the whatever they chose to see if it actually comes up. And let's see it. So if they say 3, it shows them 34. If I run it again, and they say they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they want the fifth one, they put 5 in, it doesn't pick the 55. So our indexes with this -1 is is picking the right one because we're zero-based. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But the user, of course, if you ask the index, is going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to subtract 1. So our index lines up with a zero-based system. And then what we're going to do is we'll say new value. And you realize I'm just picking the names I want for my variable names. I pick whatever I want, but I try to make it sound logical. And these are no integers. They could be floating points. So I'm going to convert whatever they give me into a float. And I'm going to put enter new number. And just to see what, make sure I'm getting it, new value is, and again, I put these temporary print statements in just to make sure that I'm getting what I think I'm getting, you know. So change, so let's say we want to change a 34 to new number 77. Okay, that looks like it's okay. And now, actually, we've got one more step in here. We put in our pseudocode, modify the list. So how do we modify the list? Well, we're going to, just like we did, we're going to say numbers, and we're going to tell it which index. Well, that's that index to change value that we got from the user up here. And we're just going to say equals the new value. And so this is just like what we did before. We're just assigning this new value, and then what we're going to do is, it's really the same thing here. I'm just going to print the current list, and then we'll run that. So now, if I say I want to change 21, that's at position 2. The new number is, say, I want that to be 45. Now you can see that we changed the 21 with a 45. And we're able to modify, you know, our list. Thank you very much.